Hello and welcome to the third episode of I Hope You Suffer. My name is Nathan,
And I'm Kit.
and this week we watched Bait or Bait 3D, depending, I guess, on how you watched it. And
Definitely did not watch it in 3D.
oh boy, this movie.
I wish I had.
Yeah, me too. Because even the stuff that looked like it was in 3D looked like it was very boring 3D. Where it was just like blood
It's very
floating
much
at the screen.
that gimmicky 3D where everything is flying directly at your face.
It's not super cool 3D like Jason or Friday the 13th 3D with a harpoon gun. So let's see. This fucking movie. How did you
I think that's pretty much all you can say about it, right?
how did you feel about this movie? Were you into it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was actually better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I'd say it was a decent movie. It was just a dumb movie.
Yeah, I was real into, I would say, 3/4 of it. Like it's real weird because it looks great until the shark shows up. Like it's actually shot and like looks real crisp, and like that opening scene especially, like everything with the beach looked like really good, and then like the first time the shark shows up, I was like, what the fuck is happening?
All that goes out the window real fast.
Yeah. And anytime it was just like character shit, I was kind of like, all right, this is ludicrous.
Yeah, the trying to make us care about the characters actually hurts the movie on this one, because I don't give a shit about them unless they're being devoured by the shark.
Pretty much. So the basic plot of this movie is a tsunami traps a bunch of shoppers in Australia in a supermarket inside the building, along with 12-foot great white sharks, which is a very good idea for a movie.
It's one of those things, like Spinal Tap, where they say it's a really thin line between clever and stupid. I feel like that's the idea for this movie. I can't tell if it's clever or stupid, but I love it.
It's definitely stupid, but it's also like, as far as I'm aware, no one else has been like a shark movie inside of a supermarket. So kudos to whoever came up with that idea.
Do Dawn of the Dead, but the zombies are sharks.
Right. And so this movie was directed by Kimball Rendell, who was also apparently worked on a second unit of Matrix Reloaded, iRobot, Ghost Rider, and Underworld Rise of the Lycans, which are some pretty big movies, except for, I guess, maybe Ghost Rider, because that movie is terrible. But it has Nicolas Cage, which rules.
And it's not all bad.
I mean, again, anything with
It's
Nicolas
mostly
Cage. I mean, it's bad, but Nicolas Cage is at least in it, pulling some attention to the craziness he's trying to pull off. And then this movie also starred Sharni Vinson, who some of you may know as the main character and like final girl from You're Next, which is a phenomenal movie, and Julian McMahon from Nip Tuck, and he played Doctor Doom in Fantastic Four, the real shitty Jessica Alba version. The entire time I was like, this dude looks real familiar, and I was like, wait, I think this guy was in Fantastic Four.
As soon as I saw him, I was like, hey, Nip Tuck guy. doing a real bad job of trying to cover up his Australian accent.
Yes. And then
I guess he wasn't getting paid as much as Nip Tuck, so he didn't really care.
the main character that just looked like knockoff, oh fuck, I just lost his name. The dude from American Horror Story and plays Quicksilver in the X-Men movies. Evan Peters?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
My whole shtick on this show is not knowing anyone's names in movies.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's Evan Peters. There's probably somebody right now on Twitter just like, hey, dummy.
You idiots.
Like the entire time I was like, this dude just kind of looks like the Australian version of everybody from the OC. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into this. I also grabbed a handful of news stuff for when we're done, because there were some actually relatively cool things I saw this week. So this movie opens with our main character, whose name I have already forgotten and completely forgot to write down. We'll just
Oh
call
yeah,
him
I don't know anyone's name in this movie.
Evan Peters. Yeah, there was way too many characters. And it's like
all of them incredibly forgettable.
Yeah, at one point I was just kind of like, this is like ludicrous, and like my notes get real scattered because I was just like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. There's too many characters. Where's this shark at? Just eat somebody.
The only character whose name I remember is the dog.
Oh yeah, Bully.
Bully the dog.
So, the opening of this movie is pretty fucking genius just for the way it ends before it goes into the credits. And it's basically our main character, who is a lifeguard at this beach in Australia, is hungover from his, I guess, bachelor party that his fiance's brother threw for him. And they're having just kind of like innocuous back and forth about like, I don't know, treating his sister right and being hungover and shit. And they go out to work and they're, out on the beach. Brother-in-law goes paddling out into the water. Main character dude, who I'm just going to start referring to as Evan Peters, whether that's right or not, just talking to his fiance, who also happens to be on the beach, as one of the other lifeguards spots a shark, where a dude in a Speedo that you see walking by earlier, that you definitely know because he's wearing a Speedo, is getting eaten by this shark. Gets eaten, gets pulled under. As they notice this shark, dude is for some reason way out by these buoys on just a paddleboard instead of the jet ski they have out there, which seems like a terrible decision. Sharks, swimming around, typical kind of Jaws rip-off shit where you're just seeing like shots of the fin and whatever, sneaking up on this guy.
Shadowy underwater.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much impossible to not just think of Jaws when you see anything with a shark like this, but, I guess it's a suspenseful thing for a reason. Like, when it's done right, it works. And it kind of does, up until you actually see this shark attack this dude. Main character comes hauling ass out on the jet ski to try and save him, as the shark pops up under the dude's surfboard, sends him flying, somehow shatters the surfboard into a million pieces, and then you see the CGI vision of this shark that looks worse than anything I think I've ever seen on sci-fi.
It's real bad.
I legitimately laughed out loud alone in my house when I saw this shark.
I was honestly taken aback, both by the fact that the shark leapt up and snapped a surfboard in half to eat a man, and that the shark looked like that while doing it.
It's amazing.
It looks like a 90s, one of those 90s like kindergarten learning CD-ROM kind of things.
Yeah, it looks like... You've seen the Mortal Kombat movies?
Oh yeah.
Where like
Reptile from the first Mortal Kombat.
It's the CGI in those movies essentially, but this movie was made in like 2012 or some shit where
with a much higher budget, I would assume.
All you really need to know is that Jurassic Park came out probably like a decade before this movie, at least, if not longer, and still looks amazing, to where this movie, for some reason, the CGI just looks absolute garbage. But it also kind of rules because it just is like such a stark contrast to the way the rest of this movie looks. Because, like, again, like, it's shot pretty well, and, like, everything looks really crisp, like, pretty spot on, and, like, well done. The opening scene is, like, beautiful on this Australian beach and shit, and then there's just, like, goofy-ass CGI shark pops out of the water and just destroys a surfboard into a million pieces. I think my first note was 2 minutes in, and I hate all of these characters. Because, like, they're like none of them in this movie are likable. The main character sucks. His girlfriend sucks. Like they're all just kind of either boring or shitty characters.
Yeah, they're bland or they're all bad people.
That's my second note is this is the best shark I've ever seen.
They can afford jet skis, but not good CG.
Yeah, it's also interesting that like the fiance, when like her brother is being attacked, who is not a lifeguard, is also apparently jumping in to help lifeguard and move all this like jet ski out to water and shit, which I guess you would want to be helpful, but it seems like there's probably rules against that.
Probably not the smartest thing you could do, also.
It seems like a lot of my notes are just like all of these people suck. As I'm like looking
Good reason.
One of them was just every person in this movie is a horrible cliche. Which I'm assuming alright, yeah, we're gonna get into this because these characters in this fucking parking garage, I swear to God, I could not wait for him to die.
They were my favorite part because they were the most entertaining.
Oh God, we'll get into this because the entire stuff with this parking garage just infuriated me to no end. So, I don't know if they give a time limit, but after this dude gets eaten by the shark, the brother-in-law, it cuts to, like, I'm guessing at least a year later. The girlfriend had been spending time in Singapore. Main character, Evan Peters, has been apparently quit his lifeguard job after this and is working in just a grocery store. When you get to this grocery store, as after Evan Peters has been walking through town to get to the grocery store and you see animals acting weird because this tsunami is coming. Which also
CG Crow actually looked decent.
Well,
CG Crow looked way better than CG Shark.
Yeah. The thing that bummed me out is like I thought about it like for some reason I was thinking about this fucking movie for like 3 days after I watched it. And like I'm sitting there and it dawned on me that I was like, "Oh, all of those animals are dead." Because
Extremely dead.
Spoiler, when you get to the end of this movie, it looks like the fucking apocalypse happened with the tsunami. So he gets to the grocery store, and it's just kind of like, this is where you meet basically every character in this movie in this grocery store. And again, all of them are like ridiculous cliches, and really have like no through line tied together except for maybe like just the fact that some of them work together. You have you have the yuppie couple that are like just this like douchebag bro and his girlfriend who are parked at the parking garage that I guess is under the building, and they are fucking terrible. I hated them so much. Like, all I wanted was, I'm just glad the girl's dog lived. Everybody else, I was just like, I can't, like, especially the one character I remember, this dude's name is Kyle, because I wrote fuck Kyle in my notes like 5 times. Like, he fucking sucks so bad. He's just like a douchebag bro. He is absolutely shitty to his girlfriend, like, constantly. It's just like one of the most unlikable characters I think I've come across in a movie in a long time. You also meet these 2 criminals, which one of them I guess is a legit criminal, and the other guy, Nip Tuck, is I guess blackmailed into robbing this grocery store. You don't really get like anything past this opening scene where he just says something along the lines of like, after this one I'm done. And then it's just like nothing comes up.
Get out.
Like nothing comes up from it again. It's crazy. Like, there's weird character development stuff in this movie, but it's pretty much all just like this main character and his girlfriend who just happens to be back from Singapore with her boyfriend she met in Singapore in this grocery store that her ex-boyfriend works in as the fucking tsunami hits, which seems pretty convenient. You meet an absolutely terrible security guard who has a death in this movie that actually kind of rules. You get the guy who is the manager or owner of this grocery store, who also has a pretty sweet death. And then I'm trying to like, oh, the weird, I guess maybe possibly 18-year-old couple, like the weird pseudo punk girl that's stealing shit, and her boyfriend that works at the grocery store, and her father, the cop, of course. This fucking,
Because you have to have some kind of familial tie.
there's too many goddamn characters in this movie.
Yeah.
And good.
I would say that. God, I hated the whole setup in the grocery store. It's just like, oh hey, here's everyone that's going to fucking die. Like it just takes so long to get everyone in there. But then finally, the tsunami hits, and it's like, all right, cool, we're rolling.
Yeah,
all good.
You basically just get a bunch of like bullshit kind of backstory where you know like. The girl gets busted shoplifting by the shop owner, and then her dad's the cop, whose car is parked in the parking garage, which is going to come in handy later, and like just like dumb setup shit that I guess kind of with the cop and the girl shoplifting is needed, and like her boyfriend or whatever, but for the most part, none of these characters really make a difference. Like, there's a woman that works in the grocery store that's in here that really has like no bearing on this plot whatsoever. She's just kind of like another character. And like all of like I think there's only really like 4 people that really get eaten, maybe 3. Like everybody in this fucking movie lives. Like they all come walking out at the end and I was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me?
It's really disappointing. I'm not watching a shark movie for everyone to make it out unscathed and to be a stronger person because of it.
Like
unless people get devoured.
I fully expected like the main character and his girlfriend were gonna live, which like obviously. And I figured like the girl and her cop dad would probably live, but I figured everybody else. Nope. Like fucking did I write down the number? No, there was like at least 7 people out of these characters that live at the end. So essentially you meet all these characters. Nip Tuck comes.
It's all dumb.
Yeah, it's none of it even fucking matters because none of them are likable. Pretty much the whole movie, I was just like, I hope everybody in this fucking movie gets eaten. Nip Tuck comes in to rob this grocery store. He gets busted, which I wrote down that the entire time he's walking in through the grocery store before he gets to the back room, his face is completely visible. Like, this is the worst criminal. He doesn't pull his mask down until he gets into the back room, which I'm like, all right, well, you're on, like, every fucking camera in this building at this point. Like, I don't even know why you're bothering with the mask.
So he makes it to the back room and talks to the owner and tries to get the money, and it's like, oh, there's no money in the safe. And he's like, okay, well, where's the money? And I can't remember what exactly happens, but it's somewhere across the store. So he grabs him and puts a gun to the back of his head, and is just walking him through the store without a mask on, with a gun clearly pointed at the back of his head. Like, this dude does not give a shit.
Well, it's also, either does anybody else in this fucking grocery store, because he walks by numerous people that, like, are just, like, oh,
they don't
cool.
care. No one cares.
And, like, well, I guess
Australia really is a land of criminals. It's chaos.
I guess now that I'm thinking about it, like, once he gets up to the front of the store, the actual criminal dude that's kind of blackmailing him, I guess, is holding somebody hostage. But
no one cared about that either until the dude started yelling.
Yeah.
He's like, hey man, put the gun down. And then everyone's like, oh man, they do have guns. We should probably freak out.
It's also like, I don't understand his reasoning by going out there to, like just add more chaos to robbing the store. Like,
I don't know why you're trying to understand this movie.
That's a very good point.
I gave up at the surfboard. I was like, all right, well, I'm in.
Well, no, that's when I was like, all right, there's obviously something deep in this movie I need to undercover, because how well they made this scene.
Some deeper meaning hidden within Bait 3D.
So essentially this robbery is going on, as it's going on, real criminal guy shoots somebody that works in the store who had like really no bearing on the plot other than to give this other lady who survives the tsunami something to mope about for like the entire fucking movie. Tsunami basically hits, it traps our main, like our 10 main...
Everyone you just met.
Yeah. Like,
all 35 characters.
Like 10 people in the store to where it basically floods the store up to the top of the shelves. So they're all on top of the shelves. And then somehow the parking garage under the store is only flooded up to the top of cars, which makes...
incredible coincidence.
Yeah, no sense to me. But also it's kind of like... the stuff with like Kyle and his girlfriend being shitty, like I kind of like the idea that like the only way they had to escape was through like the sunroof of their car, because that like you could have done something really cool with that they kind of just don't. Yeah, go ahead. You were gonna say something?
I would say so that parking garage is your favorite couple, good hair guy and what's her name, and Bully the dog, the star. And the only thing I wrote down about it was airtight BMW submerged.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was all the way underwater for a moment, and I was like, man, that's a good ass car. That like
well, Australia
that's incredible that it's just, totally fine and they're in there doing all right, no leaks, nothing.
Australia doesn't fuck around when it comes to their cars, I'm guessing. They're probably used to
German engineering.
They're used to these tsunamis happening, I guess, apparently.
Get that Flex Seal all over the place.
The other guy that's like trapped down in this parking garage is shoplifting girl's boyfriend, who apparently, I'm guessing, went to school with Kyle because he keeps calling him Freak Boy or some shit like that. Some real terrible, like, high school bully bullshit. Who, this kid ends up, being the hero of the parking garage scene, which basically every time I went to the parking garage, I was like, this is stupid. Like, you could have cut pretty much all of this out of the movie and made more people upstairs in the actual store be, I guess, more compelling or actually kill some of them off instead of dealing with this bullshit in the parking garage. I would have just put Kyle in the store and just had somebody push him straight into the shark. But, like I said, with like the sunroof thing, I was really hoping, like, because he pops out a couple times to talk to the other dude down there, and every time he does, he's basically just yelling at him to save them, which is infuriating to me. But every time he pops out, I was like, alright, this shark is obviously just going to like jump over this car and fucking eat him. Which
so
never happens.
They really use that a lot. Like, hey, look, these sharks can leap really fucking high out of the water, okay? And that's the only time it doesn't leap out. Like, it's very clearly circling the BMW and knows that they're there. And not once does it ever leap out of the water. It's just like, whatever.
Yeah, like, at least it does look like one scene up in the grocery store, and then everything else down in, like, the parking garage, it's just basically just swimming around and bumping into shit.
I think maybe parking garage Great White is just lazy.
Yeah.
It's just a bum.
One of my notes is when the tsunami hits is, dude in flip-flops trips, gets swallowed by water. Don't wear flip-flops near water.
It's a good call.
Like, I don't know why that like stuck out to me. I just remember the dude who goes running down through that little hallway to the parking garage and just trips and just gets like swallowed up by water. I also thought it was like pretty ballsy's not the right word because I guess other people do worse shit, but it was like this movie obviously was made for kind of like a mass, consumption for horror movie fans. Like, it's not like super subversive or like aggressive really, but they made a point to make sure everybody knows that little girl that was in the grocery store died. Like, by showing her like stuffed animal just floating in the water.
Right.
So after the tsunami hits, everything's flooded. It's just a bunch of kind of bullshit dialogue about what they're going to do, what happened, realizing the shark's there, whatever.
Unimportant stuff.
Yeah, Evan Peters'
At least in a shark
ex-girlfriend.
movie.
Evan Peters' ex-girlfriend is just like terrified of sharks because her brother got eaten by one, which, you know, obviously
Gotta have that
relatable.
trauma.
Well, you know, understandable. Everything in the ocean is a goddamn nightmare, so I'm afraid of it. I've never seen anybody get attacked by a shark. So this is where, like, the opening maybe 20 minutes or whatever, I was, like, sucked into this movie because I was like, this is real dumb, but it's also kind of awesome. And then there's just this period before, like, anything really happens where they're just kind of trying to build these characters up that, like, just bored the shit out of me until the shark actually starts attacking people. Because it's really... good.
I would say for me, it really, really lulls until they make the dude the weird, like, shopping cart suit.
Oh, I had...
strap beer cans to his legs to try and weigh him down and give him, like, a vacuum tube, like a vacuum cleaner hose, so he can breathe to try and flip a breaker or something.
I had...
That's bought back in. I was like, I don't know what in the hell's happening, because I zoned out a little bit, but this is dope as hell. I want that weird shopping cart suit.
I had...
Toss a fire basket on my head to protect me from the shark.
I had so many problems logically with this, like, this fucking stupid shark protection suit, but it was also kind of awesome.
It would never work.
Oh, no way in hell. And it's like, it's literally just like a shopping basket, a wire shopping basket on his head, and like cans of shit. Like, it's just like
literally just beans or like canned chicken or whatever taped to his legs to try and hold him down in the like 4 feet of water.
And then like chicken wire wrapped around him, like that's gonna do anything to stop a shark from biting him. But it's also like, as I'm watching it, I was like, okay, so they have to, essentially after this tsunami hits, like some rogue wire comes down, like an electrical wire, and the water is quote-unquote slowly rising in the store, which never really happens. It doesn't ever seem to rise. But it's getting close to this electrical wire, which will, you know, shock and kill everybody. But all of the store's electrical equipment is completely submerged underwater that they have to get this guy to put on this suit to go shut down. So technically all of this water is electrified anyway. It made me so mad that like I realized, you know, suspend reality, but like they're also trying to make this movie seem somewhat realistic. That just seemed like a weird loophole to me. But
especially when it's a key plot point.
Yeah, they definitely made up for it with the absolutely terrible shark protection suit. And it's basically just a reason to kill off the one girl's new Singapore boyfriend so that Evan Peters and his ex-girlfriend could get back together.
Yeah, so he makes it to the room, or just outside of the room, but the vacuum cleaner tube, or whatever the hell it is, isn't long enough. Because of course it's not. Because someone needs to attempt sacrificing themselves to save everyone. So he just like lets go of it, and I guess the dude on the other end holding it up was holding real tight, because he flies backwards as soon as the guy lets go. And they're like, oh my god, what happened to him? And he gets in there, and he's struggling to figure it out, and he finally flips it, but just before he runs out of oxygen and dies. And the bean cans taped to him drag his body down to the floor of the supermarket.
Yeah, which I actually thought was kind of like pretty well done. Like, all of the stuff with him underwater in this suit looked pretty good. And it was kind of like...
Except for the shark, of course. He walks right by the shark, and the shark looks awful.
It's this, like, you don't even, like, if you, people listening to this, if you don't want to watch this whole movie, just, like, get on YouTube
Google
and
the surfboard scene.
yeah, look up,
Just
like,
look up the surfboard thing.
I think on YouTube it just has, like, if you look up Bait 3D, like, first shark attack or some shit, you'll see how amazing this shark looks. We passed over the security guard getting eaten, though, which was amazing. Because they're basically scavenging for all of this stuff to build this stupid-ass shark protection suit. And the security guard is swimming around in this water. And as he's going to get, like, try and reach himself back up, you kind of see a shot that's, like, halfway above water, halfway underwater. And you kind of just see his arms out of the water and his head, and then his head kind of just slowly starts turning around and floating away. And you just realize he got, like, eaten by a shark, but as his body parts just kind of slowly float in different directions, and I was into it.
I thought that was pretty clever.
Not as
Instead of just, the typical finding, like, oh, here's his arm, and then you grab it, and it's like, oh no, that's literally just his arm.
Yeah.
Nope, just floating apart.
like, yeah, it's obviously you can only have so much you could really do with, like, a shark movie. Because, like, it's pretty much just like, oh, somebody got bit in half, or this guy got, like, his arm bit off, or whatever. And I thought that was, like, at least kind of an interesting way to shoot a death where you don't really see it happen, but you just kind of see, like, the remnants of what happened.
This is why we need sharks in space. But that's a whole different podcast.
Isn't that what the next Sharknado is supposed to be?
God, I don't even want to know.
I thought I saw something about Sharknado in space as being, like, the final one, or maybe that already happened, I'm not sure, but I'm sure that'll be an absolute masterpiece.
How could it not be?
I also noted that when this dude is underwater in his suit, there is, like, the most upbeat, like, hero music playing throughout the entire thing. And, like, the entire time you're like, there's no way this dude's gonna live. I don't know why they're even bothering with this music.
Sadly, was not Enrique Iglesias.
That would have been amazing. That would have cost, like, the entire budget of this movie.
That and the jet ski would have bankrupted this film. They'd have had to use, like, a toy shark, like the one for the tub with, like, a squeaker in it, and try and shoot that in the film.
I mean, they're not far off in this movie. It's pretty close to that. Well, I was going to say, yeah, he dies, but pretty much throughout, like, all of this, they're constantly cutting back to this parking garage and kind of, like, ruining a lot of the flow of the movie. But this is where pretty much all of my notes are just, fuck Kyle, oh my god, I can't fucking stand Kyle. Alright, so what happens next?
Let's see. It's where, he tries to help him get out of the car, right?
Yeah, like, they're basically trapped in the car, and the shark just keeps, like, smashing into the windows, because I think all of these sharks, all they can do is just bump into shit constantly.
Those are some strong windows. Again,
yeah.
Applause to German engineering, because that's goddamn 2,000-ton shark plowing into a window, and it like kind of cracks, but no water comes through at all.
Well, I think, like, after about maybe 4 times of that happening, water starts kind of coming in, which is why they have to get out. But also at the same time, the water is only to the top of their car, so it's not like...
Yeah, so it's not making a huge difference.
Yeah.
You stick your head out of the moonroof. I'm like, oh no, I'm wet.
But this couple is like...
Couple of the year.
Yeah, like, Kyle is, again, just the biggest douchebag that you could possibly write in a movie. And then, like, his girlfriend is obviously kind of, like, based on, like, a Paris Hilton, I guess, type character. And they're, like, arguing about dumb shit about how neither of them charge their phones. Like, she's mad that like...
That was my favorite part, is She's mad that her phone's not charged, and
That he
she
didn't
yells
charge it
at
for her.
him. Yeah, she goes, "Why didn't you charge it?" And he looks bewildered and goes, "'Cause it's not my phone."
And then he yells at her for not having her phone charged, and then his phone is obviously not charged and dies too.
To demonstrate what a douche Kyle is, as a guy's trying to help them, get out of their car and make it, whatever. They're swimming across, trying to get to, what was it, a different car
it's
that they make it to first?
It's that kid's like VW van that's flipped over. So it's
so
higher out of the water than their little tiny like BMW thing.
So they're swimming over to it, and the shark's gaining on them, and Kyle just turns around and picks up Bully, the dog, and throws it to the shark.
That was
in order for them to make it to the van.
My note for that was just, oh my god, fuck Kyle. I mean, I knew it was like something like that was coming, because like the only reason you have a dog in this is for like something like that.
You have a tiny bite-sized dog in this.
But spoiler, Bully lives. Somehow they show like
I have no idea
what looks like the shark attacking this dog, but then like later you find out the dog just swam to another part of this parking garage.
So did like a sweet spin move, I guess.
And so like all this shit happens, they get safe. The entire time Kyle's just being like a dick to this dude that's like helping him. Because I think this is when he tries to like climb across with over like on the poles, like hanging over to get to them on his like flipped over BMW or VW van.
Yeah.
And like drops his flashlight, and Kyle's giving him shit about it like the entire time, like just like fuck you, Kyle. I could not fucking wait for this dude to get eaten.
Well, you didn't have to wait long, because like right after that, Kyle just falls right the hell off.
He gets like bumped off or something and falls in and gets eaten. And I wrote down in all capital letters, "Finally, eat shit, Kyle." So basically, in the parking garage, it's just this one dude who worked at the store, his, faux punk rock girlfriend upstairs, and then like Kyle's girlfriend is downstairs, with this dude. You cut back to upstairs in the actual grocery store, and they're trying to figure out a way to get out. And I don't remember how they come up with this idea to have the owner of the store try and climb through these air ducts, which are, for some reason, like 50 feet above the fucking ground. Like, this grocery store is massive. But they're working their way to get him up to this like air vent thing so you can try and climb through it. As they open it, a fucking thousand...
A shitload of crabs.
Were they crabs? I thought they were spiders. I guess crabs makes more sense.
Yeah, it's just like a shitload of tiny little like sand crabs, I think it was.
I guess that makes a lot more sense than spiders, but I was just like,
it was a crab, but a sea spider. Really?
I was just like, wow, they put even fucking like a bunch of shitty CG spiders in this Shark Attack movie, but he ends up falling. He's hanging there. All of these crabs, like, falling all over him,
down on his face,
as a CGI shark jumps out and just bites his ass in half, and it's pretty fucking sick. That was like
it's really amazing to me that the sharks can leap as high as they can inside of the grocery store.
Right.
Because again, the water's like, I don't know, maybe 6 feet deep at the deepest point.
It's essentially the height of...
12 feet long and just leap right out.
The water is the height of a grocery store shelf. Like, it's, a person's height, basically. Yeah. So this dude gets eaten, and that's pretty much, I think, the last person that dies in this movie. No, yeah.
Two.
Was there two? I'm thinking, so... There's some dude throughout the entire time that you never saw in the opening that's just, like, kind of a dick, hanging out on the top of these shelves with them, who you discover was the criminal blackmailing Nip Tuck. And they come up with this plan to basically...
trap the shark.
Yeah, like they get like a giant fucking like meat hook somewhere and are going to try and like they or I think they get like like a sheep's leg or some shit, some giant piece of meat that they attach to it that they're basically going to get this shark to eat. It's going to like hook the shark, and then they're going to be able to track where it's at so they could try and like swim somewhere else to get out. In the process of trying to get all of this stuff, like faux punk rock girl takes it upon herself after giving some like dumbass heartfelt speech to somebody about how she's a terrible person because she wasn't there when her mom died or some bullshit that doesn't even matter. She jumps in the water to go help them get this stuff they need. Gets behind some shelves the shark can't get to, but kind of like props himself up on, and then just starts beating this shark with a meat tenderizer, which was pretty good.
What better way to fend off a shark, honestly?
Oh, I do have. So this punk rock girl's name, after we're 3/4 of the way through this movie, is Tina.
Fucking classic Tina.
Oh no, Tina was the girlfriend. I don't.
Not classic Tina, apparently.
Yeah, too many goddamn people in this movie.
Should have stuck with just not going with names.
They're like, something happens where they're like, I think fake Evan Peters is talking about like how he never stopped loving her or some shit, and she's like 3 feet away but somehow can't hear him because of movie logic.
The shark's making all that noise.
So they finally get all this stuff to like try and trap this shark, and this criminal dude decides, well, the shark's not coming for this meat because it needs live bait and is going to push.
Yeah, it's tasted human flesh. Now it only wants living meat.
It only wants the struggle of taking down living meat. So he decides to grab the grocery store lady who has had like zero bearing on this plot at all. Shoves the meat hook.
Literally just here to be bait.
Yeah.
3D.
He shoves the meat hook through her shirt, which, seems like that would be pretty easy.
Really easy to escape.
Yeah.
Maybe it was her favorite shirt and she didn't want to tear it more.
He pushes her into the water, and as he does that, and he's like, she's trying to get out, and he's trying to stop everybody. Nip Tuck has a pole with a knife attached to it all of a sudden, and just stabs him through the chest with it. Then grabs the meat hook and just jams it like Texas Chainsaw Massacre style through his back, out of his chest, and then just pushes his ass in the water to be the live bait.
And it works.
Yeah. Is he the last person that died, or is there one more? I think
he's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I think that's it. Because that leaves like 7 fucking people still.
Yeah, that leaves 34 survivors.
Which I guess, and if you take into account everybody else that was in the store that's just floating around throughout the movie that died, like a lot of people do die, but none of the characters...
Pretty amazing. All the corpses floating around are just like absolutely butchered.
Yeah.
And then you've got this handful of people that are totally fine. Like the cop, he hurt his leg, and he's the only person that's hurt. Everyone else is pristine condition, like no scratches or anything.
Evan Peters has like a tiny cut on his arm that's bleeding periodically that he then uses like this gross ass grocery store tsunami water to clean his arm with. So that dude is definitely going to lose his arm and get gangrene.
Oh, he's dead. He just died after the credits.
Yeah. So basically, they get this shark attached to this dumbass thing, like this hook too, so they can track where it's at. Basically pulling off like what Jaws did with the buoys, but in a grocery store.
Goes back to Jaws.
That's when the dude in the parking garage starts banging on a pipe that they can, some reason, hear upstairs. Punk rock girl is like, oh shit, my boyfriend is still alive down there. Jumps in the water. It jumps in the water to go down and swim into this parking garage to save him. the cop, her dad, is just like tells Evan Peters to not let her go alone. So he's just like, oh, I'll go help her. They get down to this parking garage, and this is where one of the dumbest, most illogical scenes happens with this fucking shotgun underwater.
So he leaps into the water with the shotgun, and he sits there and waits for the shark to swim over him, and ducks down and just shoots it right up through the head. And I immediately paused the movie and Googled, can you fire a shotgun underwater? Because I did not believe that.
I'm glad someone's doing...
I found conflicting reports. I saw some dude who looked like he broke his hip when he fired it underwater. And then I saw several videos where the barrel of the shotgun just exploded when fired underwater.
Kit's bringing the Mythbuster science to this podcast.
I was so taken aback. I was like, why are you diving into the water with a shotgun, guy?
I was watching it and I was just like, this dude is underwater for so long, unless this shark gets like above him for like an insane amount of time to basically try and shoot this shark from the bottom of its jaw up. It's ludicrous.
That shark is an idiot.
Well, the shark in the parking garage...
You know he's gonna duck you? Come on, man.
The shark in the parking garage seemed pretty dumb throughout the entire thing, so...
Again, laziness.
I think this is when you see Bully still alive, right before they kill this shark.
Yeah, swims up. I think it's right after, right? Like they kill it, and then he just like swims out, and it's like, oh, Bully!
No, I have Bully is alive, and then my next note is R.I.P. Garage Shark. So this is when Evan Peters, because he gets this shotgun from the cop's police car, and he gets like a shotgun and I think a taser, like a taser gun.
Oh yeah, I forgot the taser gun.
Because my next note is, what the fuck is happening with this taser gun? He gets back, they all swim like back upstairs. This shark is still kind of like swimming around attached to this like hook or whatever. They realize that there's a car blocking their exit, so Nip Tuck comes up with the idea that if he attaches it to another electrical box that is underwater that should be electrocuting the absolute shit out of everybody, if he attaches the car battery to this electrical box, it will explode the car so they can escape, which I also feel like probably isn't plausible.
Foolproof, I think.
Yeah, we should go try that. Kit and I are going to just change. We're going to change this podcast to just trying to figure out the science behind these terrible movies, and we're going to
pivot.
We're definitely going to
horror science.
We're going to die in the next episode. So
on stream,
as Nip Tuck is like in the water trying to like attach this shit to this electrical box, the shark breaks free, and Evan Peters, our superhero of the movie, decides to get his attention, climbs up this like some sort of platform, hangs upside down for some reason from this pole.
Badass effect.
Well, I guess. It looked real stupid. Because my note was just...
Gotta disagree. Super badass.
Like, upside down taser scene. What the fuck is happening? He shoots the shark with a taser, which I guess kills it. Because you don't see it again after that.
I think it went by the logic that it's like, oh, it's electricity, so it's just gonna, zap the water and fry the shark.
It's the most anticlimactic
ending. That's the best I could think of.
Like, they don't even, like, blow up the shark rig. It's just, I shot it with a taser, it's dead.
They should have ended with the shotgun one.
And so they blow up this car, which I wrote down. Did this car already have a bomb in it? Because it's, like, one of the most
a huge explosion.
Yeah, it's crazy. And would have definitely sent shrapnel and killed at least 3 more people.
Should have.
And then I wrote, entirely too many people lived in this movie, because they come walking out of this grocery store to, like, atomic bomb level devastation in this fucking city. Like,
So there's like no way anyone else on this beachfront lived.
not at
Like the
all.
place is annihilated Fallout style. And like clearly everyone's dead. But this supermarket was built like a goddamn. It's like a building made of tanks. I was so confused.
It's crazy too because it's like the grocery store looks like it just has kind of like wear and tear damage on the outside of it, but then there are like skyscrapers and like
scrapers. They're just like skeletons.
yeah, it's crazy. And then you see there's just like helicopters everywhere.
Quick side note. One of the very first things you see as it pans out from the supermarket is this god-awful PlayStation 1-ass looking CGI tree just standing there.
I missed that. I was looking at all this like CGI helicopters that are floating everywhere.
You gotta go back and look at this tree. This tree is next level.
So
Like everything else about this movie, just look up the tree. Don't worry about the shark. The tree is where it's at.
So this movie, God, dog is losing his mind again. Hey, calm down. I know the movie's over and you're sad. So this movie ends and goes into what I can only describe is the fucking worst end credit song I've ever heard of. A song the director of this movie wrote under the name Kimball Rendell and the Slice.
No.
That is a cover of a Bobby Darin song, Mac the Knife. And it is like, it sounds like an even more nu metal version of like Puddle of Mud. Which, if I can get it recorded, because it was hard to find, I'm going to try and record it and put it at the end of this episode, because it is amazing. They also made sure to put in the credits that no sharks were harmed in the making of this movie. You know,
In case it wasn't obvious.
all of the CGI sharks in this movie were not harmed.
Maybe, what if we're wrong, and what if, like, when you see them in real life, sharks just look that bad?
That would be amazing.
Maybe these are the most realistic sharks ever to be documented on film.
They were actually just real sharks.
Yeah, they're just real sharks. Sharks just look dumb.
How long do you think it would take to get to a point to where somebody makes a movie with a real shark in it, like, attacking people?
Like Roar, but just great whites.
Yeah. They just do, like, Deep Water, but it's real. Just looks like a real fucked up snuff movie where they push somebody out in the middle of the ocean and film it.
Oh no!
So, the taglines for this movie are ludicrous as fuck. I wrote down 3 of them. One of them is, a tsunami just flipped the food chain. The ultimate predator is coming to a store near you. And this was, my favorite one was just, clean up on aisle 7.
Alright, that's solid. That's
Yeah.
good work.
So a couple trivia points in this movie. We were kind of discussing a little bit before we started recording. You said the movie cost $20 million to make?
Yes.
Okay.
Somehow.
I could not
The jet
find a number on... Yeah, the jet ski was what it cost. I could not find a solid number on how much this movie actually made, but it made $20 million alone in China.
It looks like total box office was 32.5. So
that worldwide?
yeah.
So fuck, China did more than half of that. Apparently there was a sequel in the works called Deep Water.
40. Damn.
Yeah, it's called Deep Water, about a plane en route from China to Australia that crashes into the Pacific Ocean. It was suspended in 2014 due to unforgettable similarities to the Malaysian airline Flight 370 that, like,
Oh.
yeah. But I also,
Okay.
I would be very interested to see if this sequel even had, like, anybody else, or if it was just, like, a sequel in, spirit, kind of like
Yeah.
Halloween Season of the Witch has like no real tie to it, but it's still like a sequel.
Yeah.
But
They should do that where it's just the bait name, but a different weird dumb shark story every time.
just
This
shark,
time they're trapped in a sinking airplane while sharks surround them.
this time it's
This
in
time
an
it's on the
office
move.
building.
Sharks are looking for revenge.
I just want a movie with sharks trapped in an office building where everybody's like celebrating somebody's retirement party. Just watch sharks just fucking like eat somebody's retirement cake. So yeah, that's pretty much Bait 3D. I highly recommend watching this. I think right now it's only on Shudder. But you know, if you don't have Shudder, I don't know what you're doing.
Sponsor of Shudder.
Yeah, come on, Shudder. We're still waiting. So I did grab a couple news things. The first one, I think, just happened yesterday, maybe. Did you watch the new Suspiria trailer yet?
I didn't know there was a new trailer.
Yeah,
I saw a bunch of reviews from people kind of pouring in on Twitter, because I guess it screened at Fantastic Fest. I saw a lot of positive buzz about it.
Yeah, the new trailer, the teaser kind of did nothing for me. I don't know. I kind of actually want to see it now from this trailer. It doesn't look at all like what I would want a Suspiria remake to look like, but like it looks enough that like it will probably get me into a theater to go see it.
Right.
And
I think it's going to be kind of I think I might have said this on the last episode, but like a let the right one in, let me in situation.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm still like, there's still like nothing with really like color going on in it though, so that kind of bums me out. I'm wondering if they're just like, we're not even going to bother with that because like Dario already did it.
Yeah, it's just going to draw more comparisons than are necessary, I think.
And I'm still waiting.
It's probably for the best to do their own thing.
Like, I think they kind of tease a little bit of, like, the scene where the lady falls through, like, the glass in the roof. But it's like...
I will be upset if that's not still in there.
Well, they show, like, a scene of one of the characters being, like, slammed into, like, the mirror of, like, the wall of, like, their dance studio.
Yeah.
And she's, like, some, like, unseen force has, like, smashed her into it, and, you kind of hear, like, the glass, like, crackling and shit. And so I'm wondering if that's what they're doing, but I don't know. If they don't do that scene justice, that's like the one thing I want to see in that movie. I need to see somebody with their heart exposed get stabbed in the heart.
Low bar. Easy to clear.
So, only kind of a pseudo horror related. Have you ever watched The Goldbergs at all? The TV
I have
show?
not. But I did hear this piece of news, and it made me want to check into the Goldbergs.
So the Goldbergs always seem like a show that like I wouldn't like. It's just like always just kind of look like a sitcom. I would just be like, yeah, whatever. But then there was like one day, or there was like a week where I was sick, and I ended up just like binging whatever, like 3 seasons were on Hulu, and it's actually pretty good, especially if you're into just kind of like, if you're into like 80s movies at all. Like everything is based on like an 80s movie or TV show, and it's pretty good. I'd suggest watching it, but Robert Englund is going to be on it for their Halloween episode this season as Freddy Krueger, which I am all about because after the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, I just want Robert Englund back as Freddy Krueger.
Robert Englund for everything.
Oh man,
honestly,
like I would be all aboard with at least one more movie from him as Freddy Krueger. There's something. Oh, did you see the Child's Play news at all with the remake?
I saw a brief glimpse of is like half of the new Chucky's face.
Yeah,
and it is weird.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that. I didn't realize they were remaking it, and I don't know how that is going to work since Curse of Chucky has set up like this absolutely insane sequel idea where Chucky can possess like a dozen Chucky dolls.
Well, it's the first time that I think I'm aware of an ongoing series still going as a remake is coming out. Because, like, they're still making...
So are they still doing, like, a sequel to Curse while also rebooting?
Yeah, like the...
What?
The director, or, like, the writer, I can't think of the guy's name. I know his first name's, I think, Don, but I can't think of what his last name is. I forgot to write it down. But, he's still making those movies. And he just put out a tweet after they released the this poster with the new Chucky on it that just was a picture of Mariah Carey holding a sign up that just says, "I don't know her." Which, like, that was pretty much the reaction that I saw from everybody, was just kind of like, one, his reaction was genius, and two, I don't understand why they're doing this when they already have the ongoing series.
What? I mean, they're good. Like,
I agree.
They rebooted with I'm sorry, they rebooted with Curse, and then it was Cult, right?
Yeah.
It was the next one. Like, Curse was a really good return to the roots, and then Cult is just nuts. Like, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it at all, but it was great.
Yeah, I watched it on just, like, a whim one day, because I was just like, I don't want to watch anything I'm going to be, like, invested in, just, like, kind of something as, like, a background movie.
Yeah, something light.
And then I just ended up being, like, sucked into it. Like, it's really good. And I'm kind of, like, the storyline of just him being able to just jump into, like, whatever bodies is kind of fascinating. So I'm definitely more interested in seeing that than whatever the remake is going to be. Except...
Jason Goes to Hell, not shitty.
Oh, God. Movie bummed me out so much as a kid. The only thing the remake has going for it is that Aubrey Plaza's in it, which I'm all about.
Alright, well. Fair.
Yeah. And then the last news I have, because pretty much even all the horror things were just writing about Joaquin Phoenix Joker pictures, which looked like straight garbage. I guess John Carpenter was doing an interview with Consequence of Sound, and I guess he brought up that he had been in works and talking with Shudder about doing something together, which would be very awesome. But I guess...
Did you see what he teased that it was?
Yes. Well, no, I guess they asked him, like, I wrote down the quote, let's see. John Carpenter says, "We're talking to them about doing a theme and maybe doing a show for them." Consequence of Sound asked, "What would you think about Prince of Darkness? What would you think about Prince of Darkness as a TV show?" And he said, "Well, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you." I am 1,000,000% on board with a Prince of Darkness TV show.
I'm a huge Prince of Darkness stan. It's one of my favorite Carpenter movies, especially among his more underappreciated works. It's just so weird and out there. I would absolutely eat up a TV series based on it.
Especially on, like, Shudder, where he can just, like, get away with doing whatever he wants. Like, there's not going to be...
Oh, yeah. Total free reign.
Yeah, oh, man. I regardless of what he does, if he does something with Shudder, like, I'm all on board. I think the only movie his I haven't seen, because I still am weary of seeing it, is Ghosts of Mars.
It's dumb, but it's enjoyable. Maybe we should do it as an episode.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just always been like, all right, well, if I ever come across it used, I'll buy it. But
look, Nathan, the bad guy's name is Big Daddy Mars. Okay.
Ice
Cube plays Desolation Williams.
Oh, that's pretty fucking genius.
You need to watch it.
Like, I listened to the Film Junk podcast. They did one where they just did like 2 episodes where they just did like these like 4-hour podcasts where they just split John Carpenter's movies like in half. I kind of did them, so I know like what the movie is, but I haven't actually seen it, and I need to. And I think that's the only one I haven't seen, except for like whatever his like very first movie was in space.
Dark Star.
Yeah, which I have a feeling I could probably find that on YouTube and watch it. But yeah, that was about it. I'm all on board with that. I'm on board with Freddy Krueger coming to the Goldbergs. I'm on board with Suspiria. Not on board with the Child's Play remake.
Yeah, 75% good news.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Do you if you want, Kit has another podcast on the website he writes about, if you want to tell people about that real quick.
Yeah, so I just joined a new podcast for a metal blog I write for called Toilet of Hell. I'm sure at least a few of you are familiar with it. This new show is called The Appendix for the time being because we're not creative. It's going to be once every couple of weeks where me and one of our editors, Pat, we just talk about kind of new metal tracks, like NEW, new, not new metal.
Oh god, I would be so on board with you guys just doing like flat out new metal shit.
Maybe we'll do a new metal episode.
You should, yeah, you guys should definitely do one that's just like whatever the new metal tracks are of the week.
Christ, just the Vane record, that new Vane record, the whole thing.
Hey, I'm about that.
But yeah, so we just talk about new music, kind of new tracks that are kicking our ass that week, and play them for you guys, talk about them a little bit, and just kind of getting people caught up.
It's pretty fun. I listened to that first episode. It's good, and like I'm very out of the loop with metal for the last like 2 years. I just don't care at the moment, but I was doing it's pretty fun. And then like obviously like I'm a big fan of what like Joe, Brendan, and Jordan do anyway with their podcasts.
Yeah.
So it's like a cool little like postscript to it where they actually talk about music instead of how much they hate Five Finger Death Punch and Cops. But yeah, I will probably after this drops, I will tweet a link to that. I'll post a link on Twitter and our Facebook page for like with the episode of The Appendix on it. So if people want to check that out, they can just find it on that. Probably, I think that's probably going to go up Wednesday.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Follow.
And if you have any suggestions for a better name than The Appendix, or
I'm going to suggest The Spleen.
someone suggested Talking Shit with Pat and Kit, and
That's not bad.
I enjoyed that one personally.
But at the same time, you're also not talking shit, so
Yeah,
like it would be different if like you guys were just
the new metal episode, we'll call that.
You guys should just be reviewing like the new like shitty rock stuff, like anytime like Avenged Sevenfold releases something.
Oh god. Just have like 4 good tracks in one that makes us sad.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you want to follow us on Facebook, it's at I Hope You Suffer Pod. On Twitter, it's at I Hope You Suffer. I've been posting links to whatever movie we're watching next. I think we're doing that Island movie next.
Was it?
Hold on, I have it.
Island of Claws.
It looks really, really fucking terrible.
Claw Island.
It's Island Claws. Island Claws, CLAWS on Amazon Prime. About
not Santa Island.
It is
giant crabs.
Yeah, it's about giant crab, like 8-foot crabs attacking people on an island. But that's on Amazon Prime, so if you want to watch that, be caught up for next episode. It looks like it's going to be very, very bad, and I can't wait to watch it. I showed my wife, who like doesn't like horror movies unless they're like absolutely unscary and like real shitty. That like she likes like B movie stuff that's like more goofy than it is anything else. And I was like, this is the next movie we're gonna watch, and she was like, that looks terrible. I was like, you are not wrong.
You're damn right it does.
I also might on Twitter maybe put up polls with a couple movies so people could just be like, oh, you guys should watch this next. Like, just maybe grab 4 shitty movies and let people kind of decide our fate for a couple episodes. Pick, like, the shittiest thing you could find for us to watch.
I'm into that.
Like that fucking Inhuman Witch fucking...
Inhuman Witch or whatever.
I didn't look past that other than the title, and I was like, this...
Oh no, I'm not looking into that. I'm going in blind. whenever we watch that.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna. I think that should be a movie we make somebody else watch as a guest.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm gonna make Shane watch that. Get Shane Mathis on here, make him watch that shit. He'll be very unhappy.
You've been called out, Shane.
All right, yeah, that's about it. I need to figure out a way to end this shit that isn't take it easy, because my friend Katie made fun of me after listening to it.
Don't take it easy.
Yeah.
I hope you suffer.
I hope you suffer, but why?
That's it. Show over.
There you go. I hope you suffer, but why? Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, the shark has pretty teeth, dear, and he shows them pearly white. Just a jackknife has McHeath, dear, and he keeps it way out of sight. When the shark bites with his teeth, dear, scarlet billows begin to spread. Fancy gloves, though, has McHeath, dear, so there's never a trace of red. On the sidewalk, one Sunday morning, lies a body oozing life. Someone sneaking round the corner. Could that someone be Matt the Knife? From a tugboat on the river, a cement bag is dropping down. That cement there is for weight, dear. You can bet them Max in town. Oh, the shark has pretty teeth, dear, and he shows them pearly white. Just a jackknife has McHeath, dear, and he keeps it way out of sight. Just a jackknife